Hello everyone. So today we'll be starting with Democratic Politics Part 2, which is a textbook for class 10 political science. So there are, eight chapters in this book, and we'll be starting with chapter 1, which is power sharing. Let's see what are we going to study in this chapter. With this chapter we resume the tour of democracy that we started last year. We noted last year that in a democracy all power does not rest with any one organ. An intelligent sharing of power among legislature, executive and judiciary is very important to the design of democracy. In this and the next two chapters we carry this idea of power sharing forward. We start with two stories from Belgium and Sri Lanka. Both these stories are about how democracies handle demand for power sharing. And the stories yield some general conclusion about the need for power sharing in a democracy, how power sharing is done in a democracy. We'll have a look on that, and then this allows us to discuss the various forms of power sharing that will be taken up in the following two chapters. We are every time we're talking about that India is a democratic country, sorry, India is a democratic country. There are three important organs: legislature, executive and judiciary. Then we are saying that there needs to be a balance. Okay, so let's see that how this balance for power, and how is this power shared. So for case study we have stories. We have two stories, one is from Belgium and the other one is from Sri Lanka. Let's see that. Okay. um I hope you the screen is visible. Yeah. So Belgium is a small country. Belgium is a small country in Europe, smaller in area than the state of Haryana. And if you compare on the size-wise, then it's even smaller than Haryana. It borders with France, the Netherlands, Germany, and Luxembourg. Okay, it has a population of a little over 1 crore, about half the population of Haryana. The ethnic composition of this small country is very complex. Of the country's total population, 59% 59% lives in the Flemish region and speaks Dutch language. Another 40% of the people, they live in Wallonia region and they speak French. So you can see the ethnic complex ethnic groups. I'm sorry, that has become complex and the groups are not complex. There are, we are seeing that what is the percentage of people who live there and there. Okay. Remaining 1% of the Belgians, they speak German. So now we have three. Okay, I'll tell you. Wait, in the capital city Brussels, 80% of the people speak French, while 20% are Dutch speaking. So if we talk about overall in Belgium, then we see three languages. We see Dutch, we see French, whose people speak, and we see that 1% of the population, they speak German. So there are three languages that we've come across by now. In the capital, whereas the city capital Belgium, capital is Brussels, 80% of the people, they speak French, while only 20% they speak Dutch. So we now know that the minority are German here. And if we compare the otherwise, then in the capital city, at least uh, 80% they speak French, but in Wallonia region, it is only 40% who speak French, and whereas in Flemish region, Dutch is spoken by 59%, which is in the while in the capital city it is only spoken by 20%. So you can see the compare and the percentage. Okay, the minority French speaking community was relatively rich and powerful. This was resented by the Dutch speaking community, who got the benefit of economic development and education much later. This led to the tension between the Dutch speaking and the French speaking. Okay. French speaking communities during the 1950s and 1960s. The tension between the two communities was more accurate in Brussels. Brussels. Sorry, not Brussels. It's Brussels. Brussels. Okay, Brussels was a special, present as a special problem. The Dutch-speaking people constituted a majority in the country, but a minority in the capital. So this is what I was referring to. That here at one place they are a majority, but in the capital they are this thing uh, a less, where, and they even say that most of the economic development and everything has gone to the French speaking community much before then it has gone to Dutch speaking community. Okay, then here this child says, on the blackboard, I have a simple equation in mind: sharing power is equal to dividing power, which is means weakening the country. Why do we start by talking of this? So we'll study that also, that will come in the discussion. Let us compare this to the situation in another country. Now we see that, even if they are in more in promotion, now we have there many things which are coming here. We are the number of people, the percentage of people of from one community, the people who are speaking a particular language, and we're talking about the economic development and education. There are three important aspects which we can see here. Let us compare this to the situation in another country Sri Lanka is in. So now we see the story of Sri Lanka, which is an island nation just a few kilometers off the south coast of Tamil Nadu. Okay, it has about 2 crore people, about the same as in Haryana. Like other nations in South Asia region, Sri Lanka has a diverse population. The major social group are the Sinhalese speaking, which are around 74%, and the Tamil speakers, which are around only 18%. Among Tamils, there are two subgroups: Tamil natives of the country, which are called Sri Lankan Tamils, about 13%. The rest, whose forefather came from India as plantation workers during the colonial period, are called Indian Tamils. So there are two types of people. First, there are two ethnics. First, the Sinhalese speakers, who are like 74. The other are Tamil speakers, and in that also there is a division between Indian Tamil and the Sri Lankan Tamil. Indian Tamil who went there for plantation and everything. As you can see from the map, the Sri Lankan Tamils are concentrated in the north and east of the country. Most of the Sinhalese speaking people are Buddhist, while most of the Tamils are Hindus or Muslims. There are about 7% of Christians who are both Tamil and Sinhalese. Just imagine what could happen in situations like this in Belgium. The Dutch community could take advantage of its numeric majority, because they are more in number here, the Dutch people. So they could take the advantage, because they are more in numbers, and force its will on the French and the German speaking population, because they are not more in number as compared to them. This would push the conflict among different, this would lead on to conflict among different communities further, and this could lead to a very messy partition. This will of course lead to a partition of the country. Both sides would claim control over Brussels. In Sri Lanka, the Sinhalese communities enjoyed an even bigger majority and could impose its will on the entire country. Now let us look at what happened in both these countries. So now we know the background story of both the two countries, Belgium and Sri Lanka. So here we didn't see this. So what does ethnic mean? A social division based on shared culture. So this shared culture is very important. Okay, they share same culture, same values. People belonging to the same ethnic group believe in the common descent, because of similarities of physical type or culture, or both. They need not always have the same religion or nationality. So it's not necessary that they have to have the same nationality or same religion. So this is the map of Sri Lanka. Okay, so we can see that only same color is shaded together, everywhere same color is shaded together. Look at the map for Belgium and Sri Lanka. In which region do you find the concentration of different communities? So this is the map of Belgium, and here you can see the green ones are the Flemish who speak Dutch. You can see that yes, they are see the number. Whereas you see the German, these are the people who, they are very small. They are insignificant, but yes, they are not insignificant because insignificant in number, but they're very important because they're also citizens of that country. And then we have this French speaking. Just look at the area covered by people who speak French, right? Even if they might Dutch might people might be more in number, but still this the people the number of sorry the here in this region, there must be 59% who live, they speak Dutch, but 40, okay, sorry, 59% might speak Dutch, whereas in this region, or this thing, another 40% people who are in another region, Wallonia, they speak French. So you can really see the division between number of people who speak Flemish. You just look at the area on comparison, so many people. But on a bigger level, the French speaking is much more. Okay, just look. Whereas this, this one, sorry, this one, it is the capital of Belgium, which is Brussels. And here, who speaks the region? It's actually more French people. French is speaking more here. Okay, you get it. So now here we've seen how the division, literally a clear cut boundary is there to divide people who speak Dutch and people who speak French. So let's see what is there in Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka emerged as an independent country in 1948. The leaders of the Sinhala community sought to secure dominance over governance by virtue of their majority. Just because they formed the government, just because they had a bigger majority. As a result, the democratically elected government adopted a series of majoritarian measures to establish Sinhala supremacy. So, what is majoritarianism? A belief that the majority community could be able to rule a country in whichever way it wants by disregarding the wishes and needs of the minorities. Whoever is in majority, they will form the rules according to the things and ways which are suitable for them, and not considering the concerns of the people who are in minority. In 1976, an act was passed to recognize Sinhala as the official language, thus disregarding Tamil. So you are making one language official. um, do you know what is the official language of India? Do you know that? Google it up. There is no official language of India. All the languages, they are there is no official language of India, but there are many languages which are officially they can be spoken. Okay, so Google it up. Which are the languages? Is your mother tongue also a part of that list? Okay, list of the official languages. Just see that. The government followed preferential policies that favored Sinhala applicants. So they favored Sinhala applicants for university positions and government jobs. A new constitution stipulated that the state shall protect and foster Buddhism. So they said that a new constitution stipulated that state shall protect and foster Buddhism, like be a mother of Buddhism, and be the caring that thing. All these government measures, coming one after the other, gradually increase the feeling of alienation among the Sri Lankan Tamils. So, of course, if you're going to favor somebody, the other parties are not going to feel very good about it. They felt that none of the major political parties led by the Buddhist Sinhala leaders were sensitive to their language and culture. They felt that the constitution and government policies denied them equal rights, discriminated against them and them in getting jobs and other opportunities, and ignored their interest. So let's see the ethnic communities of Sri Lanka. So this is the map of Sri Lanka. So just yellow part, okay, this is all Sinhalese, people who speak Sinhali language. The black ones, like this one, these are the Muslim ones. One, two, three, you can see the here, these ones, the reddish orange one here and here, these are the Sri Lankan Tamils, Tamilians who were born in Sri Lanka itself. And these ones, one, two, three, in brownish, they are the Indian Tamils who had gone there as plantation workers, and then they settled there itself. What's wrong with the majority community rules if Sinhalas don't rule in Sri Lanka, where else will they rule? It's not about ruling, it's about representation. Every time we've discussed this, as a result, the relations between Sinhalas and Tamil communities strained over time. Of course, if you're giving preference to one community of the other community, then they are not going to be in good terms, right? The Sri Lankan Tamils launched parties and struggles for the recognition of Tamil as an official language. So they said no, even we want Tamil as an official language for religion, for regional autonomy and equality of opportunities in securing education in jobs. But they demand for autonomy to provinces uh, populated by Tamils were repeatedly denied. But this demanding, the demands were repeatedly denied. They were not given. Okay, so their rights were not given to them. And this of course is going to lead to a distrust between the two communities, turned into widespread conflict. It soon turned into a civil war, and that was the reason behind civil war. What is a civil war? It is a violent conflict, between opposing groups. These are opposing groups within a country that becomes so intense that it appears like a war. They hate so much, they hate each other so much, and everything, this conflict becomes so threatening that it almost, you know looks like a war between those two groups. As a result, thousands of people of both the communities have been killed. Many families are forced to leave the country as refugees, and many more lost their livelihood. You have read in chapter 1 of economic textbook class 10 about the Sri Lanka's excellent record of economic development, education and health. But the civil war had caused a terrible setback to the social, cultural and economic life of the country. So of course this civil war affected their social, cultural and economic life of the country. Of course it's gonna happen because there is no um, this thing there is no peace in that country, and when there is no peace there is war. It's not necessary. If there is no peace there has to be war, but there's this cold tension and everything, in their country. So let's see that accommodation in Belgium. So how was it done? The Belgian leaders took a different path. They recognized the existence of these regional differences, they have to be recognized, and made changes according to that. And cultural diversities between 1970 and 1993, they amended the constitution 4 times so as to work out an arrangement that would enable everyone to live together in the same country. So what they did to accommodate this conflict, what was going on between Dutch and French speaking people, was that they amended the constitution so that everybody could live peacefully in their country. The same arrangement they worked out is different from any the arrangement they worked out is different from any other country and very innovative, and this was a very innovative way. Here are some of the elements of the Belgian model. So what did they do? Let's see. Constitution prescribes that a number of Dutch and French speaking ministries shall be equal in the central government. So what they said, that the ministers, they'll be equal in number. If there are total uh, 20 members in the this thing constitute 20 ministers, and out of that 10 will be Dutch speaking, 10 will be French speaking. Some special laws, laws require the support of majority of members for from each linguistic group. Thus no single community can make decisions unilaterally. So that is why they said that, you need majority to pass a law. Okay, so that's how it became that the support, some special laws, they would require the support of majority of members from each linguistic group. That means they are given equal representation and even their voices are being heard. Many powers of the central government have been given to state governments of the two regions of the country. So many of the powers they've been given to the two regions of the country. The state government are not subordinate to the central government, and it's not like the central government is the main. Here in India, central government is given much more um, importance as compared to state government, and most of the times it is the central that is also known as union government which is going given more importance. Brussels has a separate government in which both the communities have equal representations. So Brussels, they have separate governments in they have separate government in which both the communities have equal representation. If they are 10 from Dutch speaking, they are 10 from French speaking. The French speaking accepted equal representation in Brussels because the Dutch speaking community has accepted equal representation in the central. So they are like, you accept ours, we will accept yours. Okay, so that's like equal. You also will have to compromise a bit, and we'll also compromise, and that's how it works. So it's written on Tagneberg Grand Palace Groot Market. The photograph here is of a street address in Belgium. You will notice that places names and directions in the two languages. So there are two languages, both the languages are used, French and Dutch, here to give that what is there, what kind of solution is this. I am glad a constitution does not say ministers will come from it did not say that which minister will come from which community. So this is that girl saying that thank god our constitution does not say which minister will come from which. The other things that they did in the Belgium model was that apart from the central and state government, there was third kind of government which was known as community governance, which is elected by the people belonging to one language community. They elected by people belonging to one language, that is Dutch, French, and German speaking. No matter where they live, this government has in power regarding cultural, uh, educational, and language related issues. So we see now, you might find that the Belgian model is very complicated because once they're saying that both are equal, then they are saying that equal presentation, it might look a little confusing. It indeed is very complicated even for the people living in Belgium, but these arrangements have worked well so far, but they are working. That's stopping them, at least from having a civil war. So that's better than that. They helped to avoid civic strife between the two major components and a possible division of the country on linguistic lines. Nobody wants that the country to be divided. When many countries of Europe came together to form the European Union, Brussels was chosen as its headquarter, and that is why Brussels was chosen as the headquarter was chosen, because maybe it's more diverse. Brussels is more diverse. So you are saying that sharing of power makes us more powerful. Sounds odd. Let me think. So he's saying that if you share power, then is it that you are actually becoming more powerful? You see, it's all about European Union Parliament, Belgium. It's all about representation. You're representing. If you're sharing power with somebody, of course that means your voice will also be heard in that. Read any newspaper one week and make clippings of news related to the ongoing conflict of war. A group of 5 students, you can do this exercise. Classify these conflicts by their location in your state, find out the cause. You can do that, and which of these conflicts should be resolved by working out a proper. So you can do these. You can do actually try this exercise for the farm laws. Okay. What do we learn from these two snows? So we've seen the story of Sri Lanka and of Belgium's. What do you learn from these? Both are democracies, yet they dealt with the question of power sharing differently. In Belgium, let's see how did they act differently. In Belgium, the leaders have realized that the unity of the country is possible only by respecting the feeling and interest of different communities and regions. Such a realization resulted in mutually acceptable. It was whatever the arrangement was, it was mutually accepted by the both Dutch and the French people, French speaking people. Sri Lanka, whereas if we talk about Sri Lanka, then shows a very contrasting example. It shows us that how if a majority community wants to force its dominance over over others and refuses to share power, and it can even determine the unity of the country. For example, there you therefore undermine the unity of the country. That is why they had civil war, whereas there was no civil war in Belgium. Okay. So we will now see that why power sharing is desirable. Why do you think that power sharing is more easy? See, you can see German government find German engineering. You can see a cartoon here. We'll read about this. Why power sharing is desirable? Let's look into that. Thus the two different sets of reasons can be given in favor of power sharing. That we've already seen very two contrast examples, which clearly states that power sharing is an important it can be an important way of conflict resolution. Firstly, power sharing is good because it helps people reduce the possibility of conflict between social groups, and social conflict can often lead to violence, and uh, we've seen that it can lead to civil war as it did in Sri Lanka, and it can even lead to political instability. Power sharing is a good way to ensure the stability of the political order. So it's very important that there is stability of the political order. Imposing the will of the majority committee over others may look like an attractive option. It might look like important that you're dominating over others uh, in the short run, but in the long term it undermines the unity of the nation. People are going to be divided. you know Tyranny of the majority is not just oppressive for the minority. It often brings you into the majority ruin, मतलब कि मतलब खराब हो जाना. It's not in the short run, तो चलो you might think that the person who's in majority will enjoy and फलाना, but in the long run it's not gonna help you. There's a second and deeper way why power sharing is good for democracy. Power sharing is the spirit, it's the spirit of democracy. मतलब it's the most important essential element of power sharing. A democratic rule involves sharing with those affected by its exercise and who have to live with its effects. So whatever decisions you make, that's not only going to affect you, that's even going to affect your known ones. And similarly, if it is for the country, whatever decisions you make, laws, policies, going to affect the people in that's most important. People have the right to consult on how they are to be governed, and we as citizens, we have the right to know that how we're going to be governed. A legitimate government is the one where citizens, through participation, participation in the political activity or political activity of the state, of the government, you as a citizen is very important. It acquires a stake in the system. Let us recall the first set of reasons, uh, prudential, and the second, moral. While prudential reasons stress that the power sharing will bring out better outcomes, moral lessons emphasizes the very act of power sharing is as valuable. So now there can be, just if you don't think that, if you still have doubt that why is power sharing good, then you can see it from the prudential. What does prudential means? It is based on prudence or on careful calculation of gains and losses. You can see what benefit, how much advantage and disadvantage you have of that particular thing. Prudential decisions are usually contrasted with decisions based purely on moral considerations. uh, so you calculate that what are the benefits and disadvantage of having a particular, and that's prudential. Whereas the second, moral, is there the emphasis um emphasize the very act of power sharing as valuable. It in itself, treats that power sharing is a very good value. So that is why it should be done. Then let's see. Annette studies in a Dutch medium school in the northern region of Belgium. Many French-speaking students in her class want the medium of instruction to be French. Selvi studies in a school in the northeast or northern region of Sri Lanka. All these students in a school are Tamil-speaking, and they want the medium of instruction to the Tamil. If the parents of Annie and Seti were about to approach respective governments to realize the desire of the you know, respective governments to realize the desire of the child, who is more likely to succeed and why? Sorry, we were doing this. So just think for yourself. So the more uh, um, likely to succeed in this is Selvi, because it's a school in northern region and all the students of a school are in Tamil speaking. So people, all this, no children will have a problem in studying in Tamil language. Whereas in the school of Ennet, it's a Dutch medium school, so it was already written that it will be taught in Dutch. That is why we say English medium school. That means the syllabus and curriculum will be in English and everything. When it's a Hindi medium school, everything will be taught in Hindi. So here it is more appropriate, to say that. Of course, the school will say that it was always going to be this thing to have education in Dutch, because it's clearly written that it's a Dutch medium school. Okay, so that's the reason. So also I want to say, in the last democratic uh, politics, last chapter, chapter 6, democratic rights, we were supposed to do here, we left here, we couldn't complete this portion. So I'll just finish this off, because I don't want to miss out any important part of your this thing. So here, it says that outside, we were doing here that all the restrictions on the right to freedom justifies give reasons for your answer. Indian citizens need permission to visit some borders. Of course, reasonable security. There are these reasonable restrictions which are for the security of the country. And anything, no, anything which is above you is the country. Anything which is above you is in the name of humanity. Outsiders are not allowed to buy property in some areas of, to protect the interest of local population. This is actually called inner line permit, which is very much visible if you go to northeast region. You'll see, if you go to some of the regions in Jammu and Kashmir, you'll notice that there the government bans publication in a book that can go against the ruling party in the next election. No, it's not justified, because I know we have the freedom of speech and expression. Here, Manoj went to school. He said that you cannot get admission because you are if your father was a sweeper and everything, and you should actually go to this thing, municipality office. You will get a good job there. Do you think it was right for them to say to Manoj this thing? No, it wasn't. His right to equality has been violated. Then again, here's somebody saying to a lady that your name is should your surname should be according to your what is your husband's surname. So do you think I don't want to keep my husband's surname? Why should I? I should have the freedom. So I am being denied something. My right to equality is being violated because of my gender. So you can do that. It's like, and you have to write a letter to the NHRC about the forest dwellers, and here you can just do this exercise by yourself. So I didn't want it to miss out, anything, so that you don't say that I missed out on some portions. Even if you think, that I have missed out something or the other, please comment down or email me. Don't feel shy of doing that. Here, so we've completed. Here are some, I think, just advertisement of some books, and we've done we've done completed this book also. The previous books, only this portion was left. If you guys feel that any portion should be done again and or anything, please feel free, comment down, don't shy or anything. And yeah, okay.